Hi there, I'm the CRM Ninja, and on today's episode of the Oops Factor, I'm joined by Rory Neary. Welcome to the show, Rory.
Hello, thank you for having me along.
It's an,
How are
abs-
things?
it's an absolute pleasure to have you. Things are great, thanks. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Rory, although anybody who attended Ignite the Tour London should be very familiar, Rory goes by the Twitter handle of Azure Rory. So take a look at him because he has some really great stuff on his timeline. But he's been dipping into Power Platform, and we're here to hear. We're here tonight to hear about his Oops Factor. But before we get into the Oops Factor, behind me I have a picture of a mountain bike, which hopefully people can see. And the reason why I have a picture of a mountain bike is one of Rory's passions. One of your passions, Rory, is mountain biking. How did you get into it?
Yeah, I say it's my passion. It's a new passion. It's something that me and my son have been doing recently, and it's kind of we've been doing it a bit more during lockdown because we're all a bit limited on what we can do. So we've made a mountain bike track in the local woods, and it is a lot of fun. I I my speciality as far as mountain biking is concerned is falling very, very gracefully. Today, I fell gracefully. Um, it wasn't quite into a tree. I was cycling along. This is my
Hold
upsetter
on.
ride. This is the
Did
bonus.
did the tree jump out in front of you?
Well, we've made these jumps, you see, and so there's a thing called a berm, right? Which
Yes.
is where you go around the corner. And anyway, you go around the corner, then you go over this jump, and then you're like really going quickly. And we've got this great big log that's in the way. It's rained loads, and I kind of went over it, but there's not very much mud on it, so I had to go. And then anyway, there's some trees just beyond where the log was, and I did wipe out a little bit, and my handlebar went into it. The handlebar turned, and then the bike and me parted company.
Right. Did you do a
Yeah.
Superman through the air?
I don't know. It was more of a kind of yeah. It was more a kind of I was on the bike, then there was and then there was a time when I was on the floor, and I don't know what happened in the middle. And I
Okay.
hurt my knee. I hurt my
Oh,
knee in the middle, but my son was gone by that stage. He wasn't bothered anyway.
okay.
And I did the usual where you kind of like grin and bear it, and now I'm here. And by the way, look, do you recognise this top? This was the top I wore at Ignite. I just thought I'd put this on.
I did notice it, but I wasn't going to comment
I'm
on
really
it.
warm. I'm really warm actually. Like, I've got a jumper on it. Great.
It was a great session at Ignite. Um, yeah, so mountain biking. Well, we'll get into it at some point. Well, most people get into it, but I would like to make a suggestion, which is the track sounds amazing. Once you're fully comfortable with the track and you can do all sorts of tricks with your son, you need to get a drone which has a follow me mode,
Oh
and then you
wow.
need to record going round the track with the drone to follow you.
Oh, that's really clever, isn't it? Mind you, you could just get a kind of GoPro and then get someone to follow you down. I guess
You
that
could,
might work.
you could
Yeah.
with somebody
But
else.
the drone sounds really good. I'm sure I could ruin a drone. Um,
If you need any advice
yeah.
for drones, John Levesque is a
John
drone
Levesque.
master.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He has got an amazing video. An amazing video. I can't remember what it's called. It's got something Washington, and it is
yeah,
brilliant. Really lovely.
I've seen the
Yeah,
one you're talking about.
yeah. It's brilliant. It really is good. Um, yeah. He lives in an amazing place. Yeah, it's
He
cool.
does. He likes gadgets and
Mm,
cinematography, all
mm.
the sort of stuff with pictures. But mountain biking is cool. I For many years I mountain biked. I don't
Ah,
anymore for different reasons, but yeah, had some
yeah,
really fun times doing it.
yeah. Cool. Well, we're just getting into it now, so yeah,
Ah,
that's what our summer holiday will be. We'll have a bit of mountain biking along the
got a
way.
lot of fun ahead of you.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So from mountain biking to Oops Factor, what do you have to share with us today?
Right. So I haven't prepared this story. I know what I'm going to talk about, but I haven't prepared it.
Most
that
people
could
in New Zealand don't actually prepare it.
that which could be like any of my presentations actually. No,
No, shocker.
so no, but the thing is, I probably go over them in my head for about like, a week or so beforehand anyway, and they just rattle around. So my ups factor is that on one of my early contracts, we were putting in, to be honest, it was just a forms over data app,
Okay.
and it was one of my first apps that I'd done.
Okay.
And we were about a few months into me having joined the organization, and we were starting to spec things out and so on. And someone new joined the organization who had different ideas. And the different ideas meant that they wanted to do the app differently. And so what we ended up with is a situation where this person did these wireframes. I can't remember what they did it in. They did it in a particular
Was it
wireframing
Microsoft
tool.
Paint?
No, it wasn't. No, it was in a better one than that. It was one.
Whoa. Hold on. Better one. Have you seen some of the artistry that people can do with Paint?
Oh well, I'm sure it's good. No, this one had kind of drop downs and things, and actual objects and things like that, navigations, and it did make me wonder. I thought, why would you do it and proof of concept it in that? You might as well just do it in a Power App if you thought it was going to be like how you just said it was going to be. Why would you do that? But anyway, as it turned out, there was a good reason why they did it in that particular application. It's because they didn't know how to build a Power App. So the abstract part was they then decided that the best way of working out what the right app to do was for me to build both apps, then show them to the users and say, which one do you prefer? So it fell to me to build the app that I had intended to build, as well as the app that was competing with the app that I was building. I was actually
you had to build your app, obviously. You had to build a competing app.
Yes, I had to build both of them. And
was this other person standing over your shoulder going, no, not this way, I want it a different way. It needs to look different.
Yeah, and
it needs to have 3 rows, not 2 rows.
Sorts of things like defining the data schema when I was saying, actually, that doesn't make any sense, and so on, because they were out of their depth. But well, I guess we live in a tech world where people, the amount of knowledge you've got makes a difference.
Yeah.
Just knowing a small function can actually fundamentally change how you choose to approach a problem. And of course, then from the data point of view, how you structure it defines how the app that you're going to produce will perform, and so on. So
very, very true.
So yeah, it was just a huge learning curve for me anyway. When we built that app, we had it sent off for accessibility testing. So testing that there's a group that will actually test. I don't know what it looks like, by the way, but in this organization, they have people that have got all sorts of disabilities, which include anxiety, kind of color blindness, all these different things. I hope it's not one person, because they ended up with a report that came back. Maybe it is one person. They're just sitting in a corner cowering. But the report that came back was 109 pages long of the things that come in, and there are things in your apps that you don't know are in your apps, that mean that for a blind person, etc., it would not be possible for them to use your app and so on.
Correct. Yes.
So it was actually fascinating. People have screen readers and so on. It's
109 pages.
Area. Sorry.
109 pages.
There's a lot of images, and there was a lot of repeating and so on going on. Just that they found the same thing more than once, but they wouldn't know that structurally it was actually the same problem but repeated.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, building truly accessible apps is always going to be difficult. You know.
Very true. So you built two apps, one of which was the competitor app, and you presented it to the users.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And what happened?
Well, do you know what? That's a bit like one of my mountain biking jumps because
Suddenly you
there
were
was
playing the app, and then the app was there and you were there.
it was a bit like that. So we ended up going with the fact of the matter is, you know what I'm like. I like to be creative and all that sort of stuff, and
I
that
do.
came out in the app. And the reality is that if you want to build an accessible app, etc., you basically have to build the world's most boring app. That's how you build accessible apps. You make them so they've got very, very little going on in them. And in
Yes.
actual fact, I learned some things from it as well, and that yeah, I mean, there are obvious things like don't have your app scrolling and so on. You just want, there are
Yes.
some design things that you should have in your apps because they're better. And yeah, I don't, and also, I mean, there's, we are going to be all at this for a long time. So when I'm putting together a course at the moment, and one of the things in the course is going to be on the Gestalt principles.
Okay.
Have you heard of them?
I have, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, they're fun. They're amazing. I mean, I'm not going to go into it now, but they're all about what makes things. I mean, for example, if you look at yourself or myself at the moment, we are in the foreground, so therefore the background is not as noticeable. That's good. And so when you're building your apps, there are things that could be in the foreground, but more importantly, it's things like putting borders around things. It's making things the same color, the same shape. It's just a world of building apps is really hard.
Yes.
I try and make it as fun as I can because you should have fun with it as well.
That is
But
very
really
true.
building performant apps is actually quite hard.
It is. I mean, I see it as sort of the 80-20 rule, because you can dump a load of fields and forms and stuff, and that's absolutely fine and great, and functionally it works. But if you want to make it look really cool, really funky, it takes a lot of visuals, a lot of sort of magic stuff. That does require code to do, and that's what takes the massive amount of time. And especially if you think traditionally, designers and
Yeah.
developers are not really the same sort of person.
Yeah.
And when you start getting to the pro dev world, these things are, the UX, the user experience, is something that developers sometimes can't put their heads around it totally. So they have to have designers work with them for it.
Yeah.
But that's what takes the most time for it.
But I guess, if we think about, on a number of occasions, Satya Nadella has talked about, building 500 million apps between now and I think it's something like 2023. That means that you're not going to have apps that are built by designers and pro developers with spec docs and all those wonderful things.
Yeah.
They're probably not even going to be those sorts of apps anyway. These are going to be what you'd almost consider to be throwaway apps in many cases.
They're
What I mean by that is
they're single purpose apps. I mean, if we look, for instance, Keith Watling almost always references Schlumberger, which is a global engineering company, and they have tens of thousands of apps, each one very unique in what it does. But because they're mostly engineers, so they'll build something for a single purpose, not single use, because they use it again and again, but they can see, and that's how it works, and they build up their app estate like that.
So I mean, I think it's it's a fascinating space for us all to be in at the moment, and I guess maybe talk about the background at the moment.
So I was about to come on to that because said apps, creating apps can be fun, and obviously your background power is Power Apps for Kids. So you've started this recently. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah. So I mean, look, building apps can be stressful. It can be frustrating and so on. And Look, I I do try and have fun with it. I do find it stressful sometimes as well, you know, doing all that problem solving and so on. But I just come from this. I mean, I'm an accountant by trade, and when I
Fascinating people.
I know they're not.
Had to say that.
uh, um, I'm an accountant by trade, so when I came across Power Apps, I just thought, oh my God, this thing is just like amazing. This thing is amazing. And I was just, it just think just things were popping in my head as to things you could do with it. And then, and, but then if you think about, you know, when I started doing this in, I think it was the end of 2017, maybe a bit before then, which is, I think is a while ago. And it is certainly a while ago in terms of
It
Power
is.
Apps. That product was good then. That product was still good then, and it still wasn't being used.
Yeah.
And I just have this firm belief there are so many things that you could do with Power Apps for children, whether it's history, geography, maths,
Yeah.
whatever the subject, music, you can do, you know, when we do these sessions, so we do these monthly sessions, we talk about why Power Apps and so on. And to the kids, I say, well, actually, it's just a brilliant multimedia tool. That's it.
Which
To
it is.
parents, I say, actually, this tool is pretty well the only tool that you will find that you can directly transfer the skills from what they're doing
Yeah.
directly into the workplace. Now, I'm not saying do this because you should get into the workplace, but look, I had a bit of a Twitter. I don't know what happens on Twitter if when you get into an argument with people. It's probably got a word for it, but I had one of them, and I basically did a post, and I said, "Why do kids learn trigonometry?" Like,
I saw
like,
this post.
yeah, but I kind of mean it because my son was saying like, why do I do trigonometry? Now, bear in mind, he doesn't want to do anything. So I said, why do they want to do? And I had all these people who were like engineers and stuff like that, and frigging NASA people and so on, talking about why they should do trigonometry. And I said, but like, if you're a teacher or a nurse or a doctor or or a receptionist or a salesman or even an accountant or whatever, why is it that my son needs to do like 500, or maybe 1,000 trigonometry questions between now and when he does his GCSEs,
Yeah.
and it's not it's not transferable. So perhaps for kids, we'll actually give them something that it is genuinely fun. Look,
Definitely.
I make it fun.
And of course, I mean, you are a very fun person.
Oh, well,
You've come on a long way since you were an accountant. What can I say? Um, but no, people, viewers listening and watching, if you haven't looked at Power Apps for Kids, go check it out. It's on Twitter. Massive amount of information out there about it,
Yeah.
and it's really cool. I mean, I've even sent my wife to go take a look at it.
So on the website, I've put a video on the website which tells you how to use the website because there are loads of resources. So it's actually technically the website is quite cool because it takes you off to a Power BI report, which is driven by a DataFlex Pro solution. Which
Well
has got all
done.
our resources in.
I saw what you did there using the new name. It's okay. We can all clap.
Okay. Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, getting in there. Yeah. So
Brilliant.
it's cool, and it's using GitHub as well, which is quite neat. There's some neat stuff.
It sounds amazing. So people go check it out. Now, thanks for sharing all of that, Rory. Some really interesting. I think the Oops Factor story was really amusing and having you build both sides. And
I won't do that again.
I'll hold you to that if we ever come up against each other for that. And obviously some valuable lessons there in terms of, building stuff for accessibility versus flashy images. Now, this is the point where I ask who you'd like to see on the show to hear their own Oops Factor. Who would you nominate?
Right. So I'm gonna pick you. I'm gonna hand it over to you and just say, look, I have got 4 main partners in crime at Power Apps for Kids.
Ooh, so partners in crime.
Peter Veenstra, based in the UK. Matt Devaney, based in Canada. We've got Elaine, based in Australia. And we've got Michelle Wong. I know that she's from the Netherlands, but I don't know she's based there.
She's based in the Netherlands.
She is based in the Netherlands.
She is.
Yeah.
Her daughter is
Yeah.
famous, Little Artist Row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any one of those,
Brilliant.
you know, would be great on the show. Elaine, it would be a lot of fun. She makes me, you know, she's good fun actually. But they
Brilliant.
all are. They've all been tremendously supportive and, you know, been, you know, really great people.
Wonderful. A couple have been nominated already. I will reach out to the others and we'll see where we go. Thank you so much for that. So, viewers and Rory, we hope that you've enjoyed this and Rory sharing his experience. Feel free to check out the rest of the Oops Factor playlist, subscribe to the channel, take a look at the blog. Have a great day.